Hey, hey, hey. Hey, okay. Out to the paper, the grass is always greener. I don't do no labels, I call it how I see it. Okay, out to the paper, the grass is always greener. I don't do no labels, I call it how I see it. But CNN, I had to come suited and booted, sit in my cubicle, work on the advertising parts that they needed us to do, submit stuff, send stuff over. And there was a woman there at the time named Michelle Thornton. She's so dope, right? Y'all look her up. She's fire. And I remember she was this black woman, green eyes, light skin, and she was coming in with like straight back braids.
Come on.
I'm like, this is different, right? You know, I'm expecting her. And it was the guy, Greg Dauba, who gave me the opportunity to intern at CNN. He was an alumni of UB, and he's from Buffalo. And he was a COO of CNN. Oh, wow. And while at UB, that's why I tell students all the time, make sure you just connect, you network, and you go to all the things on your college campus. Because being there and going there, I was able to connect with him. And when he was talking about it, as soon as he was done, I raised my hand. Can I get an internship? And he's like, sure, I'll give you my contact information. I kick my sidekick out at the time. Put that information in there, and I had my resume ready, and I sent it over to him. And literally, he was just like, "I'll have my assistant connect with you." And his assistant connected with me, and they gave me the internship off the top. And CNN paid me, but BET didn't. So I ended up doing CNN and BET my second year because BET called me to come back, and it was just a dope experience. So it was like night and day. So I was like dressing up, heels, slacks, button up, minimum jewelry on one day. Then the next day I'm throwing back on some sneakers, my jeans, possible fitted cap, and we walking into 106 in Park or the basement with Tigger. And so it was just like the dualities of life I got a chance to experience, running up and down West 57th between 10th and 11th, and then rolling all the way back down to dang near Central Park to be able to go to CNN. So it was a dope experience.
Yeah, that's a beautiful experience. You get to see all elements of that. Communications, department, media.
Absolutely, and just the elevation. Because then what I learned there, I was coming back to the radio station. You know, like, hey, this is what we should be doing. This is what we can do. This is what the ideas I saw. This is what I think is dope. These are people we can, possibly connect with. So it was dope.
So when you think back to your time in New York, because normally when it comes to life, we have like soundtracks to our life, like time periods to where when I was in high school, I was playing this, and I was in college, it was this. So like during your time in New York, what songs or albums do you like recollect and think about?
Songs that was out. Dang. When I was in the city, you know what's wild? I wasn't listening to nothing because I was just in grind mode. I couldn't, I wasn't playing no Walkman. I mean, did I have a CD player? I wasn't doing that because my head got to be on a swivel. You know, I'm in New York, maneuvering myself. Like, everybody talked about it in a certain kind of way, but when you get on this train, you walk in, I'm not playing nobody's music in my ears, you know, especially as a young black girl, you know, first time being and maneuvering in a place by myself. You know what I mean? And so... And then it wasn't playing out on nobody's phone because we didn't have that. I had, you know what I mean? I think I had a Nano, an Apple Nano or something, or the iPod. But even then, you got to charge that joint, and I had long days. So only time I listened to music was really when I was getting to BET, and we had to go get on the set of 106, and Busta Rhymes was heavy at the time. He used to come running through the studios just cutting up. It was dope. So I don't even have a soundtrack for that. It just was the audio of the streets, literally, just because I wasn't listening to nothing.
Was at that time. It's like
it was beautiful because you're in the midst of it. You know, I was on a show producing a show called Black Carpet that I was on, and it was just like completely new at the time. And Egypt Sherrard was a woman that I got a chance to connect with. She's on HGTV now. And she taught me so much by just watching her come into the edit suite or when she had to do her takes and her video, because she was on the radio at the time at WBLS, and she was doing television with BET. And so just, I wasn't even listening to nothing. Now that you said that, like, I was so locked in.
The sound of the streets. That's the
yeah,
answer.
Literally, it was.
Sound of the streets.
Sound of the streets. Yeah.
During that time, and just like as that was going on, as a Black woman in media, did you realize like how many like people from Buffalo, Black women in particular, were looking at you like, yo, she's like our voice?
I wasn't looking at that. My head is just down trying to achieve the goals I'm trying to hit. And then, of course, like my mentors at the time will always just like teach me that you have a responsibility to the microphone, as an intern, because I was interning at this time. And so even coming, I had to be on time. I had to be ahead of time. So everything that I was taught at WBLK, I was able to do it while at BET. I was coming early, leaving late. This is how I was able to connect with people. I remember interviewing Parker, the basketball player, and literally I came early and it was like, oh, we need somebody to hurry up and get on over to Madison Square Garden because they're doing a press conference. So because I was early, I got a chance to go there and to interview this star NBA player at the time. He was just like marrying, had just got engaged, and it was a big thing, and he was a rapper, which is so crazy. So I'm in a taxi trying to study anything and everything I got, because you got to create these questions. Mm-hmm. And so I remember getting there, and he's like giving everybody real short answers. So you got to be quick. You got to think about what's going to stand out. What are you going to ask that's going to stand out and make him gravitate to you, shift his whole body to you? And no one was asking him they asked him about basketball, all these things, but no one asked him about his rap career. He's rapping in French with Fabulous.
Oh, you're talking Tony Parker?
Yeah, Tony Parker.
Okay.
And so that's why I said Parker. And so he's rapping in French, and it sounds so crazy in French, but I'm like, yo, he's a thug in like France. It's crazy. What are you saying here? And so all I got to say is like, yo, when you dropping another, a project, another track, and his whole body said, he's like, you know what, I'm actually in the studio right now, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and now everybody's microphone is facing me and the cameras, and I'm just like, like, got me one. Got the win for the day. And I will never forget that. And I just remember having to think about everything on the fly, but the fact that I learned at WBLK, and my mentors taught me here, you need to come early and leave late, and making sure that you're ahead of the time, and all these things. And me applying that stuff at BET got me these opportunities. So then now they're just sending me on other shoots with a shooter, with a cameraman, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I got a chance to interview Jasmine Sullivan when she had just dropped at like the record company, and I'm just like, wow, so now they're put me in a position. I'm an intern. Mm-hmm. They're not paying me, so they get that free work. But I think that the greatest pay is what I learned, my takeaways, the experiences, and I didn't need to be paid. I was just happy to be here because I was learning so much, but they put me to work as if I was a worker, and I do appreciate being a part of that show, which was the Black Carpet at the time, because I wanted to really do 106 in Park or the Basement, but being on that show, because it was less amount of people, they put you to work because they needed all hands on deck. Absolutely. So I learned so much.
That's super dope.
It was so dope.
What were some of your favorite people that you talked to during that Black Carpet show time?
Wow, KRS-One. KRS-One. And what's wild is it was my job to transcribe. Y'all know what that is? So so literally after this whole interview, I would have to literally transcribe the whole thing. Adri said this. You know what I mean? And it just be like, then cut in. Oh, there was a everything. And I would be in the edit suite forever typing this up. KRS-One was my favorite because I felt like I was in a classroom with a professor. And because I was in the opportunity to interview him and speak with him, then I had to go back and edit it. It was just like really just marinating into my mind, because now I got to pause, play. And he said, heck, what was that word? Because he was using all these big words. He made me want to dive into my vocabulary a little bit more to make it larger. And he's just like the professor. So he was definitely number one. Busta Rhymes, of course, Tony Parker. It was Jasmine Sullivan was my favorite. Lil Wayne had just dropped a Millie. So we could say I'll use that soundtrack, a Millie, right? That was one of the songs because we had hit 100 episodes, and we remixed the song to 100. It was so crazy, and we all in a video, like making a video, and they played it at the end of the show. So I would say some of them, and Robin Thicke, he was on fire back then, and he kissed me on the cheek. You know, I don't think that is appropriate now, you know, but he was just like, oh, you're so pretty. And I was like, thank you. He's like, anybody ever tell you look like Brandy? I was like, no. But you know what I mean? I'll take that, you know. And he was like, yeah. So I had to set up.
No white man.
Yeah.
No white guys.
I had to set up his green room, so I'm just trying to be personable and just let him talk. And he was a smoker. So, had just came in from smoking, and he's like, thank you so much. I was like, it's nice to meet you. He's like, I do hugs. I was like, okay. He gave me a hug and kissed my cheek. I was like, okay, Robin Thicke. But I would say like some of those people, and then just connecting with the personalities, you know, Tigger, Egypt, Torre at the time, Dianella, like watching these people on television and then being on the other side to where I'm working closely with you. Free, Free was later down, but they were reason as to why you even wanted to work for BET or wanted to be on 106 and Park and work. So as sad as I was that I didn't get assigned 106 and Park, I was assigned Black Carpet, it worked out for the greater.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was dope.
It works perfectly. And with all that experience and from your internships from high school to BLK, and we watched the world shift in terms of media.
Yeah.
And now we have podcasting. So you also have your own podcasting.
Yes, the G Code.
G Code. How did all that experience like benefit you in the podcasting space? You
know, what's wild is I started podcasting in 2015 when I was back working in New York City. So I had started working for SiriusXM, Hip Hop Nation, and how I even got that opportunity is just I was just cold calling and cold pulling up. I had a friend who worked at Sirius, and I would come kick it with him whenever I came to the city. And then one day, I remember before I came to the city, I just was cold calling SiriusXM, Hip Hop Nation specifically. And I was like, hey, I want to speak to the program director. No clue who the program director is. They said, okay, transferring you to Reggie. And I was like, transfer you to Reggie. They was like, transfer you to Reggie Hawkins. I was like, nah, I know his name. No,
right? First name.
Yeah. So he'll pick up. I'm like, hey, sir, how you doing? I'll run my stuff down. He's like, oh, what's up? How you doing? I was like, listen, I'm calling because this is what I'm doing in Buffalo. I'm interested in doing this in New York, right? I'm running my ish down like I'm doing something. This man was like, well, do you have this? Do you got this? Do you got that? What about this? Have you done this? Who's the most recent person you interviewed? He's running it down, right? And any old person could start getting discouraged on a rundown because you like, I ain't got none of this. But I was taking notes on everything he said. And I was like, oh, no, what is that called again? I was like, no, I don't have that. I said, but I could work on it. He was like, yeah, work on it and get back to me. I was like, wait, bet. 2 months go by, call him back. Hey, sir. This is Adri from Buffalo. Oh, yeah, what's up, Adri? I'm like, yeah, I did this. I can send you the link. Wow.
Here's my EPK.
Yeah, all of it, right? You know what I mean? I'm sending packages. So finally, he was like, okay, let's talk some more. So when I came to visit my homeboy, I was calling, he ain't pick up. And I was like, cool. So when I met with my homeboy, I met him at SiriusXM. And when we did the interview, when we met with each other, I was like, yo, do you know where Reggie Hawkins work? Where his office is? He was like, yeah, I'll take you by him. So he takes me to his office. And I was like, I knock on the door. He's like, come in. I walked in like, sir, why you ain't answering the phone? He was like, huh? You called? And I'm like, I know he don't know who I am, but I'm just in here talking like you know who I am. And he asked the guy to step out. I was like, yo, Adri from Buffalo, I've been calling you. He's like, yo. He wanted to say, how the hell you get in here? And I know that's what he wanted to say. I was like, I was meeting with my homeboy. I had to come down and kick it with you. And then after that, we built this relationship. But I noticed that their social media at the time wasn't aligning with who was on the air. So I had to get strategic. And I was like, well, listen, if I could get my foot in this door, it's gonna be an opportunity. So I ended up saying, hey, can I run your social media for SiriusXM? and they end up for Hip Hop Nation. He was like, you know what, let's talk about it. We talked about it. I started running the social media from here. Then he kept telling me like, yo, you need to come to the city. If being in media and radio is what you want, you need to come out to the city. So I ended up figuring out how to live in the city. My family was in Jersey. So I was like, okay. I was working a job here for Oracle Charter School at the time, running their social media. Talked to my good sis, shout out to Chantel, and she was like, well, as long as you can still work it, you could go. You ain't got to be here. Bet. So started driving back and forth to New York City like on a weekly basis. So like on a Monday, I drive to Jersey, park my car, live with my family, and I felt like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air living with them because they two doctors, you know, shout out to my family. And I pull up to the house like, woo, this is crazy. And they would let me park my car. I had my own little side of the house, a whole little wing area with a bathroom. And I was just coming, parking my car, showering, jumping on the decamp bus, driving into the city, and then working all day at Sirius. And so being in the studio with Envy was doing a podcast or something at the time. And I was like, what is a podcast? And he was like, oh, it's this, da-da-da-da. And I was like, let me look into this. And so 2015, I kicked off my podcast, and I even learned about the podcast because of being in New York City, which opened up those doors. And then while out there, I was watching how they were doing what they was doing, and I'd come back to Buffalo, and I'd get into WBLK studio, and I was creating my podcast, and that's how I was able to kick that off and launch the G Code podcast.
That's super dope.
What were a couple of the things that Reggie asked you that you, like if you had it for your podcast that you didn't have that you went back and worked on?
Yeah, so at the time, it was for my radio show, you know. So with my radio show, he was asking me, like, how many interviews are you doing weekly? You know, like, what artists have you interviewed? Who are the latest artists that you have interviewed? Do you have a YouTube? You know, if you do, what's your following? What's your following on social media? Like, the full package. Because I'm a little fish coming into the city. These big dogs out here, you know, and you trying to jump into their pond, these are piranhas. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was operating as serious, not trying to let nobody know that I even had my own thing going on in Buffalo, Rochester, and Albany. You know, at the time I was on in WBLK, Hot 99.1 in Albany, and WDKX in Rochester. So I felt like I had a little something going on. But when you get to New York and you around these heavy hitters, literally and figuratively, you just a guppy. You know, you're a bacteria speck. You know, forget a fish. You don't even exist in this big pond. And so when he was running stuff down for me, you know, he was running down what somebody who's already on the air look like in New York. So how you gonna come in here and try to get a seat from somebody who's already in the Mecca and that's getting to it? And so those are the things he was running down. And I just was like, okay, let me ante up to really start just building up my chops so I could be able to compete at minimum. Yeah. Right? You know, I can't come out here thinking I'm about to play basketball and I ain't got the proper gear on. I look like I'm dressed for football. I'm not going to win.
One of the things I love about Buffalo is like we're like a mid-major city, and it's
You
like,
think so? No,
it's small. It's small,
Yeah.
but it's like we have the elements of most major cities, and I feel like it allows us to maneuver quickly and just see how things operate. I always say like it's a perfect training ground for before you go to like, let's say, a major city, so you know who to contact.
Yeah, I honestly believe if you cannot do it here, how do you expect to go somewhere else where the competition is even greater? If you don't look to sharpen your sword here and to sharpen your gifts and your talents where you have advantage points of family, friends, and connections, you get out there, you know, it's, like I said, it's piranhas, it's sharks in the water. And especially now, you know, because opportunities was a little bit more plentiful, you know, but now is limits. Folks, things are changing and shifting due to technology, due to advancement, due to AI. And so I honestly believe if you don't take advantage here, I don't really believe you're going to take advantage somewhere else, because it's not the opportunity, it's you. It's your mindset.
That's a fact.
And like I shared, you know, I didn't want to stay in Buffalo after I graduated. Hell, I didn't want to be here for college. I didn't even apply locally. I was trying to go to an HBCU, right? And last minute, the finances for HBCUs was looking crazy. So one of my teachers, Miss Douglas, who's now my source, shout out to Miss Douglas, she was like, you need to do the SUNY application. Just do it. And I did it, and I got into Buff State, and Madai, and UB. And my mentor at the time, she was like, no, you're not going to go to Buff State. You're going to go to UB. And I was like, okay.
But honestly, even going to UB back then, they wasn't accepting everybody.
They wasn't. And shout out to EOP. Shout out to EOP, who made it an opportunity for me. And I will always support EOP because it was so many of my friends, even from New York City, who got a chance to get out of New York because of EOP. They presented us with an opportunity of a lifetime to be able to go to school, to be able to do it in 5 if you needed to, but I finished mine in 4. But if it wasn't for these programs and these opportunities and these people helping me along the way, I would have been, not going to nowhere. But I ended up going to UB, but it still afforded me the opportunity to make my move because my bishop said, you got to bloom where you planted. And I believe that. So it's just like, you got to make something out of nothing where you are, because then when you get somewhere else, you just take that same hustler mentality, that same focus and drive, and you push, you just push.
Absolutely.
Do you think the podcast industry is oversaturated now?
I don't think there's no such thing as oversaturation because people are always going to flock to something. Mm-hmm. I just think when it comes to the industry, you got to know what your expectations are and be realistic. If you're getting into podcasting now and you're thinking you're about to be the Joe Buttons or, all of these big labels where they are getting a whole bunch of money, you have to sit back and be like, okay, not saying it's not realistic or it can't happen, because it can. However, you got to know what your focus is. Are you here to amplify voices? Are you here to really make sure you're putting on for whatever brands and or marketing of your brand? It's really about the focus of your reasoning for it. So at the end of the day, every market is saturated because people jumping into it. It's about you creating a distinction for what you have.
I fully agree. It makes me think of, because I've stopped in a couple radio stations and just having meetings and stuff like that, and seeing what's the way of making money. Because a lot of podcasters now, it's like, okay, how do we get the money? And we come down to ad revenue.
Yeah.
And I saw a bunch of little different ways how they add just streams of income. You know what I'm saying? And do you think that podcasting is missing that, or do you think there's not enough funds to go around?
Podcasting is lucrative. Like my podcast is on Revolt Podcast Network. I have the blessed opportunity for that. Didn't know it was going to happen at first. It got a little shaky, but it happened. But when you get a chance to sit, when I'm sitting in our town hall meetings and I'm listening to the opportunities, it's there. But it's all about your content. It depends on if those brands feel that your podcast aligns with my brand to give you the ad dollars. So this is why people have to be conscious to know.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, you have to be aware of what is your brand, because your podcast is a brand, right? So what is your brand? And is your brand in a position to, if you shoot for, let's say, everybody's up in arms with Target, but let's say Target, right? Well, Target look at your brand and say, it's what I want to align with. Now, they trying to align with everybody right now. But it's like you have to really look at your brand to say, is this one that people want to invest in? Do they align well, right, with your mission, with your vision, with what you're speaking on? If we're showing, liquor, if you're smoking while you're doing it, if you're talking about things that could be offensive, you have to be okay to stand firm to know that your podcast may not be for everybody. So those ad dollars with that particular company may not work, but what's going on over here, this particular liquor brand is looking for this type of a branding, right? So it's just being able to know who your brand is, essentially your podcast, and who is your target audience, and essentially what are brands that would align with you.
No, absolutely. Definitely get that.
So we have a top 5 segment.
Okay.
We talked about it a little bit earlier. So who are your top 5 favorite media personalities?
That's light work.
Maybe not. I'm not even talking about right now. Just
overall.
Yeah, overall.
If I had to give you my Mount Rushmore.
With a fist slap.
I will say Break of Dawn. She's passed away, but she was one of the voices that was on WBLK that made me want to be like her. Like she was funny, she was witty, she had all the chops. Angie Martinez. Angie Martinez has a way with being able to connect with people and to just bring you in. Like she's a girl's girl, and I truly model myself after her. I would make New York City trips with my mom just so I could listen to her on the radio. And she always had like this tomboy kind of way, and just one of the cool girls that always hung with people. So love Angie Martinez. Wendy Williams, she's the GOAT. Wendy Williams is the GOAT. Will forever be that GOAT. Although her tactics and antics may have put her in certain situations, but on radio, it's her, right? I would say, again, bringing it back to Buffalo, a Kendra G. She showed the mix between marketing and personality, and still to this day is just doing her thing now with having her singles online and going from radio to her own independent. And that's four. And I'm just sticking to the ladies for right now. And I would say Dee Dee in the morning. Dee Dee is a syndicated radio personality who is the woman that's spearheading the whole show. And she is the owner of the show, and she's essentially my blueprint of what I want next. And I would say an honorable mention, Angela Yee. You've been doing it. She was in Sirius XM. She has her podcast. She has her radio show. She's a mix of all the great blends. So I gave you a top 5 with an honorable mention.
Appreciate it.
What's yours now?
Sway is definitely first.
Figure it.
Just super respect. You've seen everyone. And it's just like I have nothing but the utmost respect for him.
Sway's dope.
Stay consistent, my guy. Speed from Complex.
Okay.
Speed. He's super witty, great conversationalist, and he knows how to just he controls the conversation in such like a subtle way.
He's mastered like the social media clip thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to within his interviews.
Yeah, without it being like gimmicky. You know what I'm saying? I find that super dope. One of my favorites was Scotty Beam.
Oh yeah, I love Scotty.
Beam, she got me into watching Hot 97, and she was helping them with their get more relevant in terms of social media and their YouTube.
Her mom went to Buff State, I think.
Where? That's interesting. You said media personalities? Sure, I throw Joe Button on there.
Of course.
I throw Joe Button on there, as controversial as he can be. You know what I'm saying? But
he get into the money.
yeah, and it's just
Father.
Joe get into the money.
he just don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get to my bag, and he's always had that. I don't give a fuck attitude that I can respect and you can model. And then lastly, I'll throw Joe Rogan on there, just in the sense of
I ain't mad at that.
doing it when nobody's looking and staying consistently yourself throughout an entire time, where you're almost nobody to you're the biggest in the room, and you're staying consistent. You didn't compromise, and you found a way to integrate all of your brands, all your self identities, and monetize it.
I like that. I agree. Joe Button. Angie Martinez is on mine. I like Wallow, just because he gives a different perspective, and he can connect to that, pretty much that street audience, to where they'll actually listen to what he's saying because he's been through everything that they can possibly go through and more.
For sure.
And he's come out on top, came out of jail, is now a millionaire, $1 million worth of game podcast, just the whole brand. A lot of people can listen to him and learn from him and can connect with him in a way that a lot of media personalities wouldn't be able to. So that's 3. I'm trying to find people that y'all didn't say. But yeah, I would go Angela Yee too. And I would go Tax Stone.
Tax Stone's tough.
Tax Stone.
Tax Stone definitely.
One of the originators of the pod in our culture after like Combat Jack, but like Tax Stone was one of like that first group of people.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. Sometimes I always, I tend to mention, always Sway, of course, but Howard Stern. Howard Stern has always just been just media personality, unapologetic, pushing the limits
Every
beyond,
boundary.
every boundary, just truly raw. And I think he would be up there too, and I think radio wise. So
He brought us Beetlejuice, of course.
You know what I'm saying? I throw my honorable mention in there. I'll throw in there. He was more of a comedian, but he had a podcast very early in the game. Patrice O'Neal.
oh my gosh, I cannot forget the
I'm
fly
throwing in Mike
job.
Chaz too. Mike Chaz. 'Cause
Oh
I
wow!
wanna throw somebody
Listen,
from Buffalo.
Tom Joyner. I'm a
Classic
radio
morning
girl,
show.
and he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. They call him the fly jock because he was around here just flying from coast to coast before there was like a thing of syndication. And I used to call myself the road runner because I was driving back and forth to the different spots. So Tom Joyner, absolutely top tier.
Absolutely.
Gotta mention him.
Next time I see you, that's what I'm calling you. The road,
Road runner.
That's
Listen,
fire.
that was no joke. That was a crazy period of time. I drove a car so much back and forth to the city, I had to get a new one when I was done. Transmission was slipping. It was bad.
on.
I
It was
done been
crazy.
through that. Yeah.
It was crazy. That was a
Literally.
good run though. Rochester, New York, Albany, had a good time.
Fire.
Yeah.
Third Eye.
Yep. So we also have a third eye segment where
Okay.
we talk about spirituality, unpopular opinions, maybe conspiracy theories. Just a little change in the
Okay.
tone. One thing I like to talk about is narrative, and we live in a world where a lot of things, sometimes perception can become people's reality.
It is.
And in terms of like with media and things that we do, we paint pictures with words, and it has such a profound effect that we don't always see all the time. You mentioned you talked about a little bit about AI and stuff like that. How do you see the narrative around like AI and black people?
It's scary. Like I know by now you guys have had to see like the personalities being created.
Yes. Yes.
Like there are
Full-blown
legit
content
full
creation
blown influencers.
prompts.
Okay, videos and all. Like even you seen a grandmother saying these jokes, and I'm like,
Them just be so crazy.
this is crazy. I don't know. It's crazy to hear
Nah,
it,
that's
right?
insane.
And then my other concern is like, is there a black person behind this? Because folks love monetizing off of us, right? And then I remember when AI first came in, and then they were trying to create these AI artists.
Yeah.
And so it's great. There's a gift and a curse. It's like the gift is certain things can really help you advance, do greater, do more quicker. But then the curse is that it's taking out people, opportunities, job opportunities. I think about the radio industry in itself. It has downsized.
For sure.
Drastically.
For sure.
We look at the music industry.
Record
Anytime
labels.
there's an advancement in technology, there's often a downsize in personalities across the board. Whether it's in the industry where people don't feel as needed anymore. We got TikTok artists, and the people are just blowing up off of that, so then they're getting signed, and there's no longevity. So that means the people who are A&Rs who have to go out and look for these artists are really losing jobs because we could just go on TikTok and see who's the hottest trending and pick. There's no more artist development, so then people miss out on opportunities, right? So you technically got to come to the table already full-fledged and blown, but that doesn't mean you are truly groomed into being a good star.
Absolutely.
And so I look at it as like it's a gift because you could do things quicker, better, you know what I mean? But then it's the curse because then it's going to be people losing opportunities. Because as things advance, technology advance, just like when you walk into the grocery store, what we got? Self-checkout lines. So that means less people checking you out. Then they got carts that can check you out. So that's scanning. Yeah. So that's even more less people. Now we got cars that's driving you versus taxis and Ubers. It's like, in a minute, we're going to be obsolete as humans.
We're gonna see. It's such an interesting
But I use it. You got to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You
You're
gotta
gonna
be-
use
already
it,
here. It's
and you gotta
inevitable.
learn it. You know, if you don't allow yourself to grow, you absolutely would just miss out.
Yeah, you're gonna get left behind.
You get left behind, you know. And so it's imperative when stuff drop. I'm learning. I had TikTok before TikTok was popular, and when it became popular, I said, okay, let me go back to it because I'm gonna just go ahead and grab any platform that come out. Let me grab my name. I had Twitch for a minute. I ain't been on Twitch in a minute ever. Now it has blown up, right? And you just have to keep growing with technology because if you don't, you're gonna be left behind.
Absolutely.
So,
And
but it's a gift and a curse.
The worst part is like it's taken away, like you said, it's taken away like self-checkout jobs, cashiers, etc.
So many things.
But it's also just taking away the jobs that people actually enjoy and want to do based off of, like we were saying, their personality and their art and their expression.
Yeah.
It's now able to take those type of jobs as well to the point to where you like said, like, I don't think it's gonna happen, but we could be obsolete.
Listen, there's people there was an AI radio personality. You could just prompt it to say whatever, cue it up, and they could say it.
You feed it the ads you wanted to run. And
And the thing
it's
is,
AI influencers doing food reviews.
yes.
They can't even taste the food.
Can't even taste the food. It went in her whole mouth. I said, "There's a whole chicken bone.
She did swallow it.
What is going on?"
Don't move.
I'm like this. Where did it go, lady? Listen, I'm a chicken wing girl. I can't do that. You know, that's intense. But it's the truth. You know, you can't have that human feel. Like I think about iRobot. And the robot, when the car accident happened, and he was his head said, if he saved the man, there's a better chance at survival rate if I saved a man, because in his mind, this is the technology, you know, that's going through it. So, but not saving a girl, she has a greater death rate. So he saved Will Smith on the movie. And Will Smith hated it.
Hated him for that.
Yeah, because no, save the girl. I live my life. But they saved him because he had the better chance at surviving. So I look at everything like iRobot, like, yeah, it'd be great, but
Yeah, I've seen some stuff where they're testing like the protocols and like safety with the AI, and it's like a lot of times it was a situation they prompted the AI. It was basically like if a person is trapped inside of your server and they're overheating and dying, and the only way is to save them is you have to turn off your server to get them up. Like that person was gone. Like,
yeah,
and that's
I'm not turning my server off.
yeah. It's like why would I disrupt myself
Yeah.
to save you? Like
Yeah.
that's the type of stuff that keeps me concerned. But my last question, kind of just like on terms of narrative, I was listening to a podcast. I forget the guy's name, but he was an executive in the music industry for a while, and he said that if you want to have the #1 podcast and you're not signed to anybody, it's impossible. It's in the same sense of like if you're not signed to a record label and you want the #1 radio or you're #1 on Billboard, you're not signing anybody. It's not happening. Mm-hmm. From your time in radio, would you, and just in podcasting now, would you agree with that in a sense?
I think to a degree, I think what he was essentially saying is you have to pay to play. Right?
Yeah, they need a cut.
Yeah, and so when we look at the list, like everything is relative. The #1 based on the numbers, based on the sales. Okay. However, when you look at, let's use $1 million worth of game, they popped way before they were signed to anybody. Now, when these people noticed the numbers they were doing, the relatability, the trending component, all the things that they were doing on their own, what they do? Hey, we got this number over here we want to give y'all because we see you're doing that. At the end of the day, you become #1 once you decide to put your all into something and you invest in that thing. And once you start investing in that thing and you start getting noticed, and the people are going to come. Now, if the people come and they help you get to #1 based on now the notoriety that you're getting and the platform that you're on, now that's exposure, because the separation is just exposure to another group, right? They were working within their confines of who they are, building that up from the scratch. And they did great, like when you think about it. And these folks came on because they seen how great they were. And they knew they could get them more advertising. They knew they could get them more money. But just as much as they get more money, so is that entity. right? So I truly feel sometimes the platforms helps you get the exposure, which then can catapult you to number one. But when you did the groundwork and you do the grind work, and you already position yourself from number one. So essentially all the work you've done prior to that got you there. So his verbiage may have meant like you signing with people could get you there, but sometimes it's really the work you've done before that position you to have that exposure to take you over to the top that you were eventually going to get to. They just accelerated it.
It's like a similar sentiment to being an overnight success. In terms of what people see, like they see the overnight success, but they really didn't see the 10 years prior that you was grinding every single day.
They have no idea what it is. I'm just new to you. You know? So that's really what it is. So yeah.
So as someone in radio who's been in media for a long time, we relatively new in the media space. What was one thing that you've seen about No Label podcast that we can improve on to have a greater outreach and impact in Buffalo?
I think you guys are doing a great job, because if you didn't, I wouldn't be here, right? Because I don't align myself with anything. And because I truly have put in work and I've been taught to put in work, and you have to grind and you have to earn. Nothing is given to you. You have to earn it. And, you know, as someone who's grinding it out, still building. You know, I believe in making sure you educating yourself. I believe in making sure that you are doing the ground level work of building yourself out, right? Because there's some people who just jump out and do something and you're not paying no homage to nothing, right? Or you're not even trying to make sure that you're amplifying other people. And that's what you guys do. So you're doing great work because you're shining a light on people doing great things. And that's what I'm about. And so you guys are doing a great job with that. And I'll just say, keep sharpening that, you know, because a hand that's open to give is always open to receive. So the more you're giving of your platform and helping others to share theirs, you can only grow.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So my last question is, in terms of like when you maybe step in front of the mic or when you're conducting an interview or whatever it is when you're in front of the mic as Adri V, what are you trying to maybe represent or like to where people can take back from you? Like what is the actual like mission statement?
Man, that's a great question. And as I shared, you know, growing up in radio, I listened to radio heavily. You know, the names that I shared, the Break of Dawn, the Hooker, the Mike Chaz, the Magic, Alexis, Terry Davis, Shay Moore, Dwayne Terry, a.k.a. DT, the Cold Spring Cousin. Listening to these voices, I took so much from them. They made me laugh. They educated me. They made me think about stuff. They made me excited because they told me it wasn't no school because we had a winter storm. You know, they were always out in the community doing something. If it was a rim rocker or we had a jamboree, like these are the different things that as a kid I listened to. And because they were there, they were at Birchfield's doing a live to air. They were popping. They were cool. They were relatable. And once being able to be a person on the other side, and before I even got to that, I got a chance to study them. And a thing that they had in common and what I stand on is, you know, every time you crack the mic, you are responsible for what you say. People like, I'm not a, you know, people will be like, I'm not a mentor or I'm not a role model. Yeah. You know, nah, essentially you become one by default, right? Because we all just read off of names that we look up to. And we've learned something by studying them. And so I've learned a lot by studying them and being around people who made me make sure I took ownership to what I say. It's not you just saying stuff, because you are responsible. What you say on this microphone is a boomerang. You throw it out, it's going to roll right back some way, somehow. Absolutely. So you got to be conscious of that. And so I was always taught you got to be, the moment you crack this mic, you got to own what you say. Right? You got to be responsible for your words. You have power. So this microphone is powerful because you could build people up or you could break people down. What is your focus? Right? So I was taught that. And so taking in all those things, you know, and how these people made me feel. They educated me, they entertained me, they empower me. So I live off my 3 E's of that every time I crack the mic, I come to entertain, educate, and I come to empower you, right? And in the midst of there, I'm gonna throw my medicine and the candy, and I'm gonna teach you to be a go-getter. You know, I'm gonna teach you to act, seek, and knock after your dreams. And in my favorite book, it says that those who ask shall receive, those who seek shall find, those who knock, the door will be open unto you. And I want everybody to take that on. You know, I told someone, I said, if I was able to be like in a pageant, they would be like, you know, what is one thing you could do for the world? I want everybody to live their dreams and do it. Because I think people wouldn't be upset. If you wake up every day and you do what you love to do, what do you have to be upset about? You don't. And I'm blessed to be able to do that. From the time I wake up in the morning, from the time I go to sleep, I'm working with organizations, people, places, and things, utilizing my God-given gift of being on the radio in the morning, doing my radio show at WDKX 103.9, in the evening, doing stuff for WBLK, doing my podcast, the G Code, that's on Revolt, you know, and I'm an educator. So at times I'm an adjunct professor teaching what I do, and then being my podcast program that I'm working with the youth, right? And then I flipped it and I start working with people who want to get into podcasting and utilizing the podcast as a brand to build out, and just being a business owner to be able to help other people maximize their businesses and amplify their voices, right? And so when I look at every time I crack the mic, you know, what I live by is seeking and knocking after all opportunities and making sure that I'm empowering, educating, and entertaining everybody, and making sure I'm at least speaking to one person and somebody could walk away with that. On my radio show, I talk about a gamut of things. Friday nights, Saturday nights, WBLK. And so, you know, it used to be called the Go-Getter Mix, where I was featuring all these DJs. It was so many DJs in Buffalo, and they were my friends. We had limited access on WBLK. So I just started rotating everybody out every month. And then coming off of interning with Dwayne Terry doing the Unsigned Hype Show, when he left, I took it on, but then I started intertwining the unsigned artists into my radio show, because this is what he did, and I understood what it means and how it's necessary to make sure you just keep that cycle going, right? And in my show, I talk about the what the hell news, something that's crazy going on. I tell you, don't do that. Don't do that. What the hell is that, right? The right? The Go-Getter Report, where I'm entertaining you and letting you know what's going on from an entertainment component. I got the town rundown. I'm letting you know what's going on in the town. The wins of the week, where you could call in and share with me, how did you win this week? How did you make it? It's a Shoot Your Shot Saturday. I'm talking about opportunities you should shoot your shot at. Got a motivational minute where I'm motivating you, right? And then politics as usual, because everybody like, I don't want to get into politics. No, if you're not tapping into the politics, baby, guess what? You're on the menu. They're talking about you. They're doing something with your rights, you know, with your city. And if you are not making sure you're aware, you're going to miss out on it, you know? And then I do my Adri V picks, where I'm highlighting artists. So really looking to make sure that I'm doing my job to empower, to educate, to entertain, and to be a platform to help others, right? So that's, every time I crack that mic, that's what I look to do, because I was taught that by my mentors, just by their example, by the people who are my mentors in my head, the Edgy Martinez, you know, those other people who we just watch and learn from, and just making sure I own that responsibility of knowing that this thing is powerful. And what you say, you roll it out, it's coming right back. And that's my biggest thing.
Fire.
That goes for artists, anybody in front of a mic. Like,
that's it.
When you step in front of it, you got to know, what is my purpose?
Yep.
What is my purpose behind getting behind this mic? Whether I'm talking, whether I'm singing, rapping, whatever it is.
What am I here to do?
Because like you said, everybody gonna hear it, and you're responsible for what you say.
Absolutely. So I'd rather build you up, you know? Make you go get it. Be a go-getter.
Absolutely.
Be a go-getter.
What's the name of your website so they can get all your information?
All the things, everything. I'm at Adri V, the Go-Getter. That's A to the D, R to the I-V, TheGoGetta.com. And then also Adri V, the Go-Getter on all social media platforms. And if you want to text me, tap in 214-70-ADRI-V. So you can find me all things. You got a dope song? Email it adriv@wblk.com. And yeah, all platforms, all things. Adri V, the Go-Getter, and the G Code podcast.
Come on.
episodes on Wednesdays. You could tap in on Revolt Podcast Network. That's where I'm at as well, on revolt.com. Really, really dope. Really proud of that opportunity. And my radio show every Friday night, Saturday night in Buffalo, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. on WBLK, in Rochester, Monday through Friday in the morning on 103.9 WDKX.
Hey.
Working.
Got
more to do. Got more to do,
though.
More to go.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying the go get it.
Oh, yeah,
You
for
know
sure.
what I mean?
But no, we definitely appreciate you for pulling up. I think we definitely got to do a part 2.
Yeah, we got a part 2.
Yeah, we got to do a part 2.
I got more questions.
For sure. For sure.
But yeah, like I said, we appreciate you. No Label the Pod. We out.
Peace.
Thank you.